Okay, it's 5:32. We're going to go ahead and get started with the Community Reinvestment Agency of Far West City. And so this is called to order. The first item of business. Have we gotten everything started on that we need to, Andrea? We got everything. Okay. Consider approval of minutes dated June 6th, 2024.
I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have approved our minutes. The next item, and the only item on here is, other than adjournment, is discussion on tax increment options. Okay, it's very, very vague, but Doug is going to fill us in on all the things we know and don't know about tax increment and about this project specifically a bit. And we'll go from there. So please, and if you feel like sitting down and just using the mic, that's fine, or whatever you feel comfortable doing.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's sure a pleasure to be here with you.
Hit your button on the microphone. If you, there we go.
Green light. Good. I like red light, green light.
It's one or the other.
Soccer coach, baseball coach, ski instructor. Kids love red light, green light. Yeah. Anyway, as Mayor indicated, we're here to talk about a couple things, specifically the project that you are contemplating out north of 2700 North. If I may, Mayor, based on some of the documents that have gone back and forth over the last couple of weeks, there have been a couple of different titles. I've heard Far West Landing and Far West Marketplace. Do you all have a preference? So I make sure I say the right thing.
It's their development, but I'm not sure which one they're going to go with. I'd prefer something like, having something to do with the Transcontinental Railroad, but I don't know if that really matters because it runs right through there that they're trying to cross.
So if it's okay for the time being, may I just use Marketplace?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
But this is the place. No, that's wrong, isn't it?
There you go. We can
This is the real
reinvent
place,
that, right? Actually, with as much that may be going on, right? Anyway, you guys have been through a community reinvestment project area effort in concert with Pleasant View City, correct? Is that the only one this group has been through?
Actually, this group, except maybe Boyd, were you in on that with Pleasant View when we did the CDRA back in 13? Okay.
I got in on it on the other end when we were still working on it.
Yeah. So a few of us.
Okay. So the process is defined by the state statute code. It's actually one of the statutes that I find that it's been developed quite well. And there's some things that are a little bit overly exhaustive, but the code provides some requirements that require us to make sure we think about how this is going to be put together, because at the end of the day, you're redistributing public dollars that will support a private development. That's what it all comes down to. As we, I think, discussed when I was fortunate enough to be introduced to all of you, the primary goal is to make sure, as your consultant, that you contemplate doing that under the umbrella of limiting those expenditures to investments in public infrastructure. So you take that new money and you support the cost of public infrastructure. So that's just recycling public dollars back into public assets. Another way to think about it, it's just a different way to budget money, right? We can isolate a certain stream of money coming from the new development through property tax and sales tax, and we can isolate it to public infrastructure. And so that's one of the great things about, in my mind, about this part of the Utah code is allows cities and counties and the state to modify, budget practices to support certain things. In an economy like Utah, particularly in an area like we are here in northern Utah, there's no room, in my opinion, for direct cash incentives to developers. When the mayor and I first talked, and you and I first spoke, that's great. You guys think that way, and so as we think about this 2700 North or the Far West Marketplace project, I'm going into this with the idea that it's all going to be reinvestment in public infrastructure. So we'll structure the budgets that way, and we'll just talk that way. And if I think, and based on my experience doing this for some time now, if you set that expectation with your customers, your public, from day one, it goes off a lot better, feels better, and it just makes more sense. So I think you can see this on your screens too, right? So this is a schedule that we put together that, I don't know what that is. Did I do that?
Accidentally. You hovered.
I want to get into that stuff. I have a link for another part of my business, and it takes me to YouTube. I have to figure out a different way to do that, because when you click on, and it goes specific, this video, but off to the side, there's all
Distractions.
kinds of awful stuff sometimes.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, so this schedule that you have in front of you is the foundation for it is the code. Section 17C of the Utah State Code dictates community reinvestment project area plan and process. And I'm not going to go through this in great detail unless you want me to or have certain questions, but I thought it would be a good idea to highlight certain sections for you to know what's ahead of you. From my perspective, you're still considering this, right? You haven't made a firm decision, but it's appropriate that you start the process. Starting the process with the developer to indicate to them that you're going to take their request seriously helps them with what they are hoping to, bring into the development. So part of the initial discussions that's happening this evening, I think certainly the mayor knows, maybe all of you know, that we have had initial discussions with Weber County and also the Weber School District about the project. The discussion was very high level, very informal, but with both entities, we got the nod to move forward to the next formal step. Candidly, I was quite surprised because much of this development is rooted in retail. But a key feature of this project area is that the base value, meaning the current taxable value of all of that real estate that's north of 27 and east of I-15 that's in your city, there's not much on there. So there's not much taxable value. It's about $5 million in real estate value. And so from an entity's perspective, just as an example, right now, the school district's getting about $30,000 a year off of all of that property. The initial discussion we've had internally about it is for you to all think about participating in this project area for a 10-year period and taking 50% of the new property tax revenue and supporting public infrastructure. The county's percentage might be a little bit higher because, like you, they also enjoy sales tax, and will also make a recommendation on how much of the new sales tax you might consider, right? But you know, so the school district gets 30,000 a year right now. If they give us half of the new revenue, in year one, they're gonna get $57,000 over that 30,000. By year 4 or 5, they're gonna end up getting 235,000 in new revenue, and that's just half the new revenue. So that's the key thing that really got the school district agreeable, in my opinion, was that your base value is low. There's not much happening out there, so it's a good opportunity for everybody. So we've had those meetings. The next meeting we'll have is with the Weber Fire District. As you all know, there's a fairly long list of taxing entities that are associated with the properties in your city. We're gonna have to contemplate if we include them all, meaning mosquito district and the very small ones. And I think the recommendation I'm gonna make is not to include the smallest ones. And so certainly Weber County, Weber School District, Weber Fire District, because they're a big player in terms of tax rate. And maybe give some thought to Central Weber Sewer and Bonavista Vista Water. And I bring that up because their connection fees for the development in that project area are gonna be a tremendous benefit to those entities. You know, and they have to service them, that's why they have those fees. But I'm gonna assemble a budget, the draft, including those two, and we'll work on that together. So anyway, next discussion will be Weber Fire District. I'll have conversations with the mayor and we'll kind of decide if we want to include Central Weber Sewer and Bonavista Vista, just as, again, a very informal conversation with them. Any thoughts on that from any of you at this point?
Do those bodies, those additional bodies have to approve this tax increment funding proposal to proceed forward with it? Or is it more of just a, being a good neighbor?
Help me understand your question a little bit
So
better.
do we have to have, Weber County, Weber School District, these smaller taxing entities sign off on this proposal?
They all have to agree individually through an interlocal agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry if I misunderstood your question. I went in a little bit more detail before I get into the schedule because that very first line item is, conduct initial discussions. And that's really important. Candidly, if we had gotten a no from the Weber School District, that changes everything, including the county. And the other entities will always look to the county and the school district, and they want to know what their position is first. So that's why we start with them. So maybe give that some thought, and we can communicate via email or through the mayor. I just wanted to bring that up. So the next formal step.
I do have
Yes, sir.
two comments.
Yes.
One, Central Weber Sewer, Sewer District is contemplating rate increases as well. So if you're gonna talk to them, you probably need to do it fairly soon before they make that step, and it either shifts away from it or entices them. I don't know which way it would go.
Right.
That may need to be brought to the forefront a little bit.
Are you part of their board?
I represent the city on the board. I am part of the board.
Great.
We have on almost all those boards, I
That's
think
good.
we have a member, like mosquito board, fire district, Bonavista Vista,
Sewer.
sewer.
That's good. That's very good. And that's a very appropriate comment. I've been through a couple of these where, like, the school district was planning on increasing their rates in the same year. They were also agreeing to give money away. The timing of those public meetings is very important. You can't have the same discussion on the same meeting.
Or even in the same week, probably, yeah.
And at times, we figured out a way to postpone, and this one may fit that as well, finalizing the agreements for a year. Because this project's not gonna be vertical for a few years from now. And so my expectation is we don't finalize, meaning record agreements and the plan that we put together until next year. Because once you record it, it sets some things in motion. And so if an entity, be it the sewer district or other entities, are contemplating a rate increase through truth and taxation this year, it's appropriate maybe to formalize that with them next year, and also probably maybe even more appropriate for this project to contemplate formalizing everything in 2025. It gives us lots of time to work on it and put it together correctly too. We know we don't have to rush. That's problematic. So as far as you understand, they're considering this year. Okay.
Probably gonna happen in 25.
Okay.
But it'll be relatively soon in 25 because they're paying off some of the debt for the new builds.
But they'll have the public hearings and the approval in 2024.
They're starting to move to that level.
Do we know if any of the other entities that y'all sit on?
Well, I don't sit on this entity, but I did have another question.
Yes.
I heard fire, sewer. What about sheriff?
Sheriff comes up with Weber County. Yeah.
Okay.
They'll be, Weber County has a combined rate. Weber County's rate for calculation of increment includes the library, Weber Morgan Health, the paramedic fund, and the sheriff is all funded under the county's general fund budget anyway. So that's included, sir.
Isn't it fair to just plan on the fact that they're always going to want more money?
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
we know there's a rate increase coming here. We may not know about these other units right now,
They were last year.
and they'll do it again. They just are insatiable with their appetite. And so in the conversations that are going to take place, this needs to be on the agenda, regardless of what we know that they're planning right now. It's going to come up.
Yes. And I think maybe just a thought for you all to consider too is as you're out, as we talk to the public about this project, and they're asking you questions, why are you doing this? Why are we giving money away? Taxes are going up. As what we understand about the proposed development and the types of retail assets they are planning to bring to that project area, the durability of those assets are tremendous, and there's a legacy. And the great thing is that we have proof of that legacy right here in our own county, in our own state, and across the country. And so taxing entities who rely on property tax and or sales tax want those type of assets. And so we're isolating any increment to public infrastructure or public investment, but we're also wanting to support a project and types of businesses that are going to be here for years and years and years. And having those types of businesses in our community also help stabilize the tax rate and minimize the need for higher tax increases year over year. So that's part of the discussion too. If all of this was just a strip mall, none of us would be here, right? Yeah. Any other questions before I move on?
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So these initial discussions are super important. Indicated we'll get with Chief Sullivan.
Chief Clark. Chief Sullivan is retired.
Just retired.
Is it official now?
Yes.
Who's the chief?
Chief Britt Clark.
Okay, know him. And Marshall Reed will still be involved in the conversations?
David Reed is a deputy chief, and Jared Taylor is a deputy chief.
Okay. All right, good, good. So we'll have that conversation and others just informally. I think, so the next step is for you guys to adopt a boundary area. The statute refers to it as a survey area. Doesn't really matter what they call it.
We initially sort of, we adopted it, we went through those steps, but we didn't resolutionize it.
Resolution.
So we'll do it correctly this time.
Is that something that you would like to do in August or September?
Either way, yeah.
Okay, and do you meet once a week? Or can you meet anytime
As a CRA,
as an agency?
as an agency, we can meet anytime. I hear the preference is to do it like this before our city council meeting, which is twice a month.
Okay.
But
It doesn't have to be that way, but
All right,
it's,
I'll get with you. So I copied you on an email earlier today, Mayor, for some information from Weber County's GIS department. They're a great partner. They're super helpful. They'll create that map. We'll have all the right parcel numbers. We'll have all the legal descriptions which will be the foundation for your resolution, which I will give you a draft of, and you can have Liam check off on it.
okay.
But that's just basically defining a geographic area.
Yep. So that resolution does a couple of things. Defines a geographic area. And that's really important. This one's easy because it's not a ton of property and there's no homes in it. Doesn't cross boundaries. Yeah, you have two taxing areas though within that area, and I was quite surprised, but the rates are exactly the same. So I'm still trying to figure that out. But that resolution also says that your agency can start the process of developing a plan. And that's what we'll do. Yes, sir?
Just trying to clarify that, you say there's two taxing agencies?
And there's
In-
two, I'm sorry if I used agencies, there's two taxing areas. So a taxing area, think of like a circle, right? And within Far West, there's taxing area A, and there's a list of entities that support that taxing area. And taxing area B, right next to it, is still in Far West, but maybe A doesn't have Central Weaver sewer, right? Because it's all septic. But B does because there's a sewer system, so there's one more taxing entity. Weaver County has an enormous amount of tax areas, and so some of them
In
are.
other words, in order to get all of the taxing entities involved, there are two areas involved at this
Yes.
piece of property.
That's why we work with the county to create the boundary area. We capture all of the appropriate land serial numbers and legal descriptions. So when you adopt the resolution, you give the go-ahead to start developing the plan. Going through that schedule, one of the fundamental things about the plan that's really important to you and the developer is the budget. We've already started to put the budget together, a draft budget together. And we'll contemplate both property tax and sales tax that will come along with that draft budget. We'll also start developing the language within the interlocal agreements based on the informal conversations that we've had with the Weber School District, Weber County, the other taxing entities. We will, as we develop the plan, we'll also start setting up formal meetings with Weber County. Weber County has a committee that we need to go through before we get to the commission. And they make a recommendation to the county commissioners. Weber School District has the exact same thing. They have a tax increment financing subcommittee that we'll meet with, and they will make a recommendation to their board. And that process works really well, actually.
They meet on a regular basis. Like
The
you-
subcommittee can meet whenever the superintendent asks them to, and the board president's available. And they're a good partner. The Weber School District is a really good partner in conversations and things like this. And anyway, so as the plan's being developed, the plan has a list of requirements that we'll put in that, and it's information that will help all of you think about why you're supporting this project. public money, because part of our process is defining the net benefit and an articulate definition as to why you would do this. It's really important, right? If people live here, everything costs more, and you folks are giving money away,
It's a
How does that
basic
make any
cost benefit
sense?
analysis.
right? And so we're gonna help, the goal is to help it make sense to all of us.
And it says, I'm just looking at the state code, it says the agency shall conduct a development impediment study in this part,
Only,
does that?
only if you contemplate eminent domain.
but aren't we?
No.
Not yet.
Isn't there some parcels that we would,
Not yet.
Give it time.
Or Pleasant View.
Pleasant View has some, and so far they've been fairly successful in acquiring or at least getting sign off and contracts to those property owners. So
so is the hope to have those parcels acquired before
At
we
least
proceed down this road?
Yes.
Yeah, but this plan only applies to your city and the property in
Yes.
your city.
yes,
So as part of the road project, if another city has to go through eminent domain, it doesn't impact this at all. If we find property within your city that needs to be acquired because of the road, that's the only possibility that eminent domain would fit anyway, then that'll bring on another process.
Because I thought that there was those,
We asked them to purchase the piece because they would benefit from the whole piece rather than this strip.
I just thought there were those few
there was a
parcels
possibility.
to the north of,
We pushed back on the.
to redesign it.
No, they purchased it because they would benefit from the additional land around it.
And it's moving along.
So that will be in their court.
It's better that they spend their money than we
It's
spend
getting a
ours.
lot less likely that eminent domain will ever be brought up
It's
in this.
moving along in a very positive direction.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if any one of the three landowners that, we had, wondering about this, if any one of them just holds firm, then we can consider, doing that route, but
an
that's
absolute last resort.
absolute last resort.
Make for good neighbors.
So another, important part of this project is we're not in a rush on the formal nature or the technical nature of the plan development. So should something like that arise, we have some time to develop it. The important thing to the developer is the interlocal agreement. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing to the developer because that's the contract. That's my word, but it really is a contract between you and a taxing entity that says this is what that taxing entity is going to give to your agency to support the project. They don't care what the plan says. And, many people don't. The public cares most about the numbers, and that's what they should care. The plan just helps us understand why we're doing it. So, I would anticipate that we will have draft interlocal agreements prepared certainly prior to the end of this year. Likely at the beginning of the fourth quarter of 2024. Something that we can put in hand to you and the other taxing entities based on the conversations we've had. And that all comes from the budget that we're creating. I gotta quit doing that. Sorry.
Just
folks.
click over on the left and it'll go away.
Yeah, there we go. It'll go away.
And it'll do all that.
I gotta turn all the TV off.
Can you give us a copy of this schedule that we're looking at?
It's in our Dropbox and I can ensure that you can get to it. It was just sent today.
Okay, I'd just like to have a hard copy. I'd like,
Print it out of the Dropbox.
Yeah.
not really. I don't know, maybe you can. Can
It's
you?
just a document.
I don't play in the Dropbox very often.
So can y'all print that out here? Okay.
I'll make sure they have copies. They want hard
Great.
copies. Those that want electronic copies. then they know what-
Mr. Old School over there.
And the interlocal agreements will spell out of this amount that we're investing, it'll spell out, this will be your section entity A, right? Of the money that is coming in or going out through this.
Yes, the bones in the interlocal agreements, the numbers, let's take Weber, any entity, doesn't matter, right? It'll define the term, so how long, and the rate of participation. And it will also have a provision in it that that entity will only allow your agency to use their money for a certain thing, and that's investment in public infrastructure, water, sewer, roads, things like that. And we list those, right? And it will also define a cap. And that's really important to taxing entities, that there's a cap in those interlocal agreements. Because, as we go through this and you as a city and an agency make a decision on the dollar amount that you want to pass through to support this. And that's going to happen in a couple of ways. The developer is going to come to you with costs on what they anticipate for public infrastructure, water, sewer, roads, whatever, right? We focus very much on roads because we've got good numbers on that. We've got a design, right? It's a $15 million figure. We already have public funding coming in through WACOG at 5 million. I'm rounding numbers. So we've got a $10-ish million gap. And maybe you all decide, well, that's all we're going to focus on. If we can fill the gap on the road, that's an appropriate amount for us to support this project. And so that gives us a target, that $10 million. And so based on what we believe and the developer believes will be the assessed value of the new development over that 10-year period, we can estimate new property tax revenue coming in, as well as new sales tax revenue coming into the city, and come up with a term. 10 years initially would be the thing to think about, and a participation rate, meaning we'll ask the entities to give up 50% of the new revenue coming in, the property tax revenue. So it'll define term, participation rate, and it'll have a cap. Because you're going to decide how much is appropriate, right? And that's what you're going to ask the entities for. And it gives the entities some assurance that, and this would be the best thing that can happen, is that assessed value and gross taxable sales is twice what we're estimating, right? But we only needed $10 million. And if we don't have a cap, then your agency ends up getting $15 or $20 million. And that's not appropriate. So the interlocals will have a cap too. That's a critical thing.
And do we negotiate that percentage with that entity, or is that on a formula? So they could say
negotiate it.
we want 50% we're going to do 50% of the sales tax, but that's kind of a conversation that you work out.
Correct. And the statute allows every entity to participate however they want.
Okay.
The county auditor will go crazy if they're all different. Because on the back end, there's a lot to this, but that's their job. But it's a good thing because the county enjoys the benefit of sales tax, right? With the county option tax, but the school district doesn't, Central Weber doesn't, Fire District doesn't. So there's going to be an appropriate expectation from the entities that what the city's giving up is significant, and the county's participation rate on property tax is more than the other entities. So 60% instead of 50, maybe something like that. And that'll all be defined in the agreements. So as we get through that and we get a general feeling on where the entities are, we've got a good draft plan that's complete. We're comfortable with the language. Then we start setting public hearing dates. And based on sorry about that. based on what I think's gonna happen. You gotta tell me what I'm doing.
There's gotta be a way to disable that.
Yeah, don't hover. Stay high.
There's a little icon at the bottom of the screen, and if you happen to bump your cursor to it, it pops
That's
up.
it. I'm hitting Microsoft on the bottom, sorry. So what I think probably is gonna happen is that public hearings for this project area are gonna be in 2025. You know, first quarter, second quarter, it really doesn't matter. Because we record, the code cares about the year in which things are recorded, not the month or the day. And so I don't think we need to worry about hearing dates and public notice. We'll go through a process where your city writes a letter to all the property owners within the area that tells them what we're doing, and public notices have to have certain languages. I'll work with the attorney on those. We have draft templates for all of that to make sure we're meeting the requirements of the code. So that part of it all happens next year. If it happens sooner, of course, I'll come back here and we'll have a more detailed discussion about that. But for this evening's conversation, I don't know if, unless you want me to go through the public notification process, I don't think there's a need to now, since we're not gonna hit it until next year. And those are,
We understand the basics of.
and they're pretty specific.
Yeah.
So what, with all of that, what questions do you have right now?
I do have a follow-up question for myself.
Please think.
You mentioned about a 10-year period.
Mhm.
What happens if things don't go as anticipated? Is there a way to get into an off-ramp, pull an ejection handle, make it stop?
Certainly. And you would do that by way of, and this is a term I use, actually the mayor and I were talking a little bit earlier in a kind of a different way, but same thing, is that we can put benchmarks in the interlocal agreements with the entities. The other thing I forgot to mention, when you finish all this and it's all recorded, right, and you're all done, you're going to enter into a separate development agreement with this developer specific to tax increment, not the road project or anything else. It's going to be its own development agreement that discusses your agreement with them. And if there's a benchmark or if there's a need for, in your minds as a public policy perspective, that if they don't hit a certain level of development by a certain date, then that gives you the opportunity to pull back. I mean, at the end of the day, that means the value isn't there, right? The developer, I don't know how they're gonna do it, but you're all gonna require them to build that road and put funds aside in escrow or bond or something else to make sure that road happens, right? So it's to their benefit to make sure this is gonna happen, but it also protects you and gives you an opportunity to back out. So it's prudent to put that language in there. It doesn't hurt, and it's probably smart.
Certainly a good developer is gonna wanna get that infrastructure in there as quickly as possible, because they're gonna benefit from the increased property value as well.
In the lease.
They, and I think a lot of that for us, as far as a benefit to us as a city, is this particular developer has a good reputation for that. And as long as those are the kind of developers that we're dealing with here, I think these agreements, these interlocal agreements will be spot on.
And the development agreement that you have with them, that will be a public document.
Right.
And that just shows your business sense. Because when it gets in this arena, you're behaving like the private industry, right? Government has an appropriate role on the sidelines to facilitate certain things. It's interesting how we want government to stay out of our lives. And until we need their money to pay for something, right? And so the language we use in the plan, more importantly, the language we use in the development agreement puts you in the business seat, because that's what it comes down to. You're given them money and you expect a certain return. That's what it's about. Sorry, I think a little better when I'm moving, so I apologize for stepping away from this.
Okay, any other questions? I was gonna say, it's too bad Katie had to take a call. She usually has really good questions.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment.
Sure.
This is all probably not just for me, but I can only speak for myself. This is all very new. This whole process and procedure. And I want to thank you for giving us a clear roadmap from where we are to where we want to go. We would never tease this all out on our own. And I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, and I was so grateful when the mayor contacted me. Super grateful for Chris Crockett's recommendation. I think I've mentioned to you, I helped Marriott Slaterville City out with this, and I was a little hesitant because I want to make sure I do a good job. I won't come into anything and do something halfway. But you're a small city and you're genuine people, and it's really great to work with you all. So it's my pleasure.
I'm very appreciative. I want you to know that.
Thank you so much. As am I.
You're also genuine.
Oh, I'm the genuine real deal. There's only one of me. For which all of you are thankful.
That's what I mean. You're genuine.
This kind of thing, development agreements, is something that's been evolving for a few years, right? I'm thinking of a particular business in Box Elder County 15, maybe years ago. I think Box Elder County gave away the farm, and it was a learning process for them. But I think we're at a point now where having your expertise and your experience and your background and some of the new legislation is definitely going to help us do the right thing on this particular project.
Yeah, and
We appreciate it.
And it's, and thank you so much. And interesting and challenging because, if you step back from this, right, and we all just put ourselves in the shoes of a taxpayer, we're all taxpayers, we're all customers to our city, our county, our state, our country, right? And our economy is great. There are parts of it that are not so great, but that's always the case, right? And economy does this, right? Well, right now in Utah, particularly along the Wasatch Front, we're all very healthy, right? And revenues are good. It's odd to me when I hear taxing entities increasing their rates, that means there's some problem with the math because we're growing, sales tax revenue is growing, property value is increasing, which, there's an offset. I mean, you all don't get the benefit of an increase in value because of the real estate market, but you do get the benefit of new buildings for the first year, right? So you're getting new revenue coming in and things are healthy. And so why would we give it away? That's the real question about this, particularly now, because we're not out trying to recruit businesses. Years ago when I started out in economic development and the economy wasn't so great, we were on recruiting missions for manufacturing companies, and it was all about jobs and durability and counties entered into deals where they thought it was great. And so they gave away the farm because they thought it would happen, and it didn't. But this project is coming at a time where we're healthy, and so the articulating the why is super important. And I'm sold on the fact of the quality of the anticipated retail that's coming in, and to your point, the reputation of the developer. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Doug.
We appreciate you much.
Thanks, Doug, very much.
Have a great evening.
Yeah, you as well. I get old 15 minutes.
Away from this clicker.
Yeah. Back away slowly. Oh, before you get too far, Katie might have a question. We're either done or you have a question.
Nope, we can be done.
Okay. We're good. Thanks again, Doug. I'm sure we'll be having lots of conversations over the next days, weeks, and months.
Mayor, y'all know how to get hold of me. If you don't, please give my cell phone number.
Absolutely.
I'm available anytime.
Okay,
Thanks.
appreciate you. Okay, we have one last item on this agenda for this meeting.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the community
Katie and
reinvestment.
Boyd are motion second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're adjourned for 15 minutes until we start our next meeting, which will give us just enough time to do and undo the recordings.
Do and undo.
Planning Commission.
We don't. Geneva will not be here. Usually somebody, I can read what she texted me. Is that what you guys want me to do? It's her turn. I will do that.
You got somebody planned for current pledge?
Yes.
Not it.
Not it.
Could be it. Okay.
Been it before.
Hello, Lieutenant. Good, how are you?
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. City Council meeting of July 18th, 2024 is 6:30. We'll get started with an opening ceremony. We're going to start with a prayer offered by Tim, and then I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear Father in heaven, as we meet this evening in the realm of the city of Far West, we are indeed grateful for the opportunity we have to be citizens and members in this fine community. We're grateful for the opportunity we have to get to know our neighbors and friends. We pray at this time that we might be mindful of the needs and the requirements that the citizens in this city have, and that we might be good stewards over that activity. We pray that we might be mindful of the importance of people's rights and the associations they have within their communities. We pray that we might be able to make those decisions which will benefit all and that will be appropriate and serve in the city. Again, we thank thee for these blessings and for the opportunity we have to serve. And this we ask in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, we're going to rise, take off your hats, and repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next thing on the agenda is, then our comments and reports, is public comments. Looks like we have some folks here, possibly public comments. Nope, just here to observe. Anyone? Anyone? Okay, here I was all excited to have some public comments, and we're not going to get any. Okay, report from Planning Commission. Apparently, Geneva's not going to be able to make it, so if it's all right, I would just read what she sent me in a text. So here's the breakdown, as she says. Work session discussion. Water landscaping in the commercial and manufacturing zones. Also started discussions on the ITZ zone for the Marriott-Slaterville Farr City piece. We'll continue that this coming week. In the regular meeting, they approved the signage for North Ogden Surgical Center. And I think that is it. Let me know if I need to move any direction. Thank you. So that was from Geneva. So on that note, are there any new assignments and direction for the Planning Commission? Oh, wait, we're cruising right along. Next on the agenda, consider approval of minutes dated June 20th, 2024.
I'll make that motion.
I'm going to say Boyd and Katie. I heard Katie just a little bit ahead of somebody, so you guys got to be quicker. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
You did correct the June 6th to the 20th, right? At the top of the.
I hope so.
My copies of minutes said they were from the 6th.
Okay, well, on the agenda,
I'm
it
sure
says
she
June
caught
20th.
that. That's all right.
Okay, so next item, consider approval of bills dated July 17th, 2024.
I move we approve the bills.
I'll second.
Okay, Tim and Katie are motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're paying the bills. Moving on to business items, consider approval of the business license for the Northern Athletic Facility. Is there anyone here to represent the Northern Athletic Facility? Come on up. This is why. Okay, tell us what you're up to.
Council's public comment. My family and I started the Northern Athletic Facility, so it's a small space for indoor private turf sports over in Northview Business Plaza. about 2,000 square feet of turf, little weight room, little place for yoga. But the goal is to bring some sports and athletic facilities here local to people. We've been traveling with our kids, Centerville, Farmington, Uinta, all over the place, except in our backyard, and figured it was time to put the athletes to work here in Far West. So we're excited to offer a facility, albeit small, to try to build out youth sports here, and be it baseball, lacrosse, soccer, whatever it is.
So that's your definition of indoor turf sports, are things that would be normally played outside on a field. How do you do that indoors in a small space? I mean, you can't do a lot of lacrosse in a room like this.
So we've got concrete walls. So a lot of lacrosse practicing back and forth off of walls. A lot of lacrosse is just practicing off of walls, picking up grounders off of turf you can do, batting practice, taking grounders for baseball.
How big is your facility?
It's about 2,000 square feet of turf. So 80 by 30, big enough to throw a baseball, hit a baseball, kick a soccer ball. So
Great. You had caught my attention with baseball indoors, and I was wondering how you're going to capture the balls, but you said you have concrete walls, so.
well, we've got netting all up. So we've already done netting inside, but the netting is all retractable. So you can pull it back if you want to access the concrete walls for lacrosse or soccer. Or you can hit a baseball off of concrete walls. My boys have done it plenty of times, but you have to avoid the ricochet. So try to keep liability down. We threw some nets in there.
Keep you fast on your feet. That's the second part of the drill.
You've done this before elsewhere?
We have not,
Here.
we've paid other people to go and use their facilities. So we've been patrons of the facilities from North Salt Lake up this direction, up to Logan, and just decided it was time to invest in it for ourselves instead of paying other people.
In a facility with parking, I would consider making a motion to approve this.
I have a question.
License.
How are you going to advertise?
So advertising on Instagram and Facebook, probably just ads there. We sponsored, if you were at the Freedom Festival, we had a pitching contest. We were working with Andy, the DJ, and kind of gave out some goods. So we were trying to be public in the city and visible that way. We did the Plain City and the Far West parades.
There's a marquee at this facility. You
So
just
the
got to put your
windows-
signage on that marquee.
There will be graphics in the windows, and we'll get a spot up on the marquee.
Well, and thank you for being involved with our city celebrations and
Yeah.
so soon. So we appreciate that.
Right again, Boyd.
Make a motion. We approve the business license for the Northern Athletic Facility.
I'll second the motion. You're too slow, Bob.
It's okay.
Okay,
For the race.
Wade and Dave are motion second. We'll do this roll call. Bob?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Boyd?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
Congratulations and welcome to Far West.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yes.
In the winter.
I like how you line everybody up pretty much by size. There's one out of order, but I think he switched spots.
He's the middle child, so he tries to do that.
You keep doing that.
It's part of the thing. Thank you. So consider approval of an exterior wall sign for North Ogden Surgery Center located at 1804 West, 2550 North. Other than they got the name wrong, how does the council feel? I don't think they really need to be here for it.
I was just wondering, does that face the south or does that face the I-15 side? I couldn't,
I think it's right in front of the.
I think it's
so I think
facing the
it's
freeway.
north. It faces north, doesn't it? Or south, sorry.
Okay. That's a good.
I'm thinking the
Okay.
building, but that's the backside that I'm thinking of, so it's the south side.
I think it does face south.
Hopefully they knew to put it on the side people would see.
I think it's facing 2550, let's put it that way, okay? I think where the planning commission approved that, I don't have any qualms with what's there. I know they're pretty thorough.
Even though we're not North Ogden.
Yeah.
It's details. It's all good. That's the name of their business.
Exactly right.
Do I have a motion then?
I move that we can approve the exterior sign for North Ogden Surgery Center at 1804 West, 2550 North.
I'll second.
Okay, Tim and Katie are motion and second. We'll roll call this. Tim,
Aye.
Katie,
I,
Boyd,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Bob.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Okay, next item, report on assignments. Tim? Tim, do you want to start us off?
Okay, I only have one item, which is I've been reviewing the recent legislation that's passed at the beginning of the year. I just finished a real close review of House Bill 476, which is land use regulation modification. When that bill first came out, there was a couple of items in there that gave a few cities some heartbreak. That legislation has passed and it was amended. So those issues that other cities, and we would probably agree with, were eliminated or corrected. It actually encompasses and involves the applicant's entitlement. That would be, a developer bringing in a subdivision or something of that nature. It covers some items in development agreements and building design. They've added water-wise landscaping as part of that. Rear setbacks, porches, landings, that sort of thing on backs of homes. And then subdivision reviews. And all of those are very, what's the word I'm looking for? They fall in very close with how we've been doing things, how we like things to be done. And this particular piece of legislation was one of the good ones. So I'm done with reviewing that one. I'll have another one for you in a couple of weeks.
Okay,
That's all I have.
thank you, Tim. Hey, Katie?
I participated in the park to park bike ride, which was really fun. And thanks to the Active Transportation Committee for putting that together. And it's not every day that you get a security detail to get you as a cyclist through intersections. So that was very fun. And I thought it was really well put together. I appreciated your comments on and your stops. And I think that was really well received. And then as far as the Mountain View Park grant goes, we got our documentation submitted to the national parks for our clearance to get that final approval on building the playground there and making us eligible for our funding that we received. So that is taken care of and we should receive notification of that in September. We had a parks meeting today and we discussed and did some planning for the Meadows Park, which is over on 2700, and looked at planning some segments and phasing for that. So our Public Works is going to work on getting utilities stubbed into the property this fall. And we will start probably doing with the restrooms and the trail walking path around the property first. So, but making good headway on the development of that property there. And then we have I have a mosquito abatement meeting on Monday. And so I'll have more information during next meeting in August.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's it?
Yep.
Hey, thank you, Katie. Boy,
Just a little recap on the 4th of July Freedom Festival. I mean, I think we did well at the things we do well at. We got a little feedback from the parade in comparison to local cities, but I think it was well done and well attended, and it was just about the right length, I think. And so
Thanks for the fire truck. That was super cool.
that was fun. Fire truck was cool.
even us old guys like to ride on a fire truck.
Yeah. I think it was fun just to, blow the siren and let them, what I mean is they heard us coming, and
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody saw that we were city council or saw our banners, but we were there. We showed up. So
All they care about is candy, so.
Yeah. Excellent reviews on the fireworks. I appreciate what Vortex does, and I think
That was beautiful.
so. I think there's some good things that we do. We probably ought to get together and do a review while it's fresh on our minds, and other than that, it was good. Next thing is, many of you know, some of you might not know, but Chief Sullivan retired. His last day was last Thursday. His retirement was last Thursday. The rest of the time, I think, is vacation. And then, anyway, we appreciate Chief Sullivan. He has done amazing things with that district and taken it to a great level. Chief Britt Clark is the new chief, and he took the reins Monday morning. At our last meeting, which was last week ago Tuesday, we appointed Jared Taylor as the deputy chief over operations to replace Chief Clark. And so it'll be Chief Clark, Chief Taylor, Chief Reed is still fire prevention side of things. And then Cody Draheim is the divisional medical chief. So yeah, looking
You
forward.
forgot to mention the most important thing about Freedom Festival. Far West City beat the sheriffs and the firefighters in the softball tournament.
You know what? It's just
We have the cup back.
take me out to the ball game. You know, I mean, it was a fun night. It was a great night to sit out there, and it was good. So
I'm gonna come and play.
next time we'll get you to come and play, David.
I don't know where I was.
Okay. That's it.
That's it?
Things are well, and July's a great month. It's one of my favorite parts of this serving is when everybody gets together and good things happen. So
You get positive feedback.
yeah, we get positive feedback. So,
That's always nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, David, thinking of positive.
Thinking of positive, we've had a number of meetings. The Housing Committee is working on submitting our strategies as prescribed by state law by the end of the month. And I think we're making good progress with that. We have another meeting planned tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And we want these in by the end of next week. So that's kind of our objective, and we've been working on that. It's been delayed because I'm the chairman of that committee, and I've been AWOL for about 7 weeks. So, but I think we're going to be okay. With the economic development matters in the city, we've spent this time this evening with Doug Larson. Some of the representatives of Woodsonia have been to the city to see the site and to talk about what we're doing. And again, we're so early in this, there's not a lot that we can detail progressively about where we are with it, except to say that it's moving in a positive direction. And I'm very optimistic about it, and maybe I'm overly optimistic, but I don't think so. And Mayor, you can frost that cupcake all you want, but there's some good things going on. And so those have been and are ongoing initiatives with our housing and with our economic development, particularly with this project out at the north. And it's been good to be involved with those. I don't have any more specifics, but we're busy with it.
Okay, that it?
That's it for me.
Okay.
You're
Hey,
not gonna
Bob.
brief- you're not gonna brief for me too?
I'm not
Hey,
gonna-
Bob.
What for you?
Brief.
No.
No, okay, I've got a few things to discuss. The first one is the trails. We meet with Cameron from the state on Tuesday, the 23rd at 4 o'clock. This is open to the public, and it's how to increase our awareness of bicycle trails and utilizing the things that we have in our community and adjoining communities. So we're gonna start with a bike ride at 4 o'clock. And we're probably gonna do a section of what we did for the bicycle ride. Not the whole thing because of time, because of temperature, and how many participants we may or may not get. I do need to talk to somebody about getting water and probably some after-ride treats in place, but that we can take up later. Again, that's gonna be on the 23rd, which will be Tuesday, this coming Tuesday at 4 o'clock.
Where are we meeting at?
We're gonna meet here and probably do a short circuit and end up back here again.
It's gonna be in the senior center, right?
Right. Yep. And I'll try and get the public notices out tomorrow. Make sure that we get them out. As far as CERT, there were a couple things that are going on. One, I took Lou and Jay and we went to the old building and we plugged in the computer. It tries to boot up, but we didn't have the password, so we couldn't get in through Linux because I'm not Linux smart or Linux smart. So I'm probably gonna get Steve Welch, the person that wrote the script for us, to open the computer back up for us and then change it to a reasonable password that we all understand. There was a request by the CERT committee to do some refurbishment of the old building. They asked for 2 sheets of plywood, some mud, and some tape. And Dave asked me, can we spend the money? And I said, as long as it comes out of the CERT budget. Okay, so they're gonna, if it hasn't already been procured, they're gonna procure 2 sheets of drywall. Jay, Lou, and Lou's family are going to come. His son and his grandson are gonna come do the drywall mudding. And then the next project is Dave's gonna look at replacing or fixing a couple windows that were broken out. Once they get the one room adjusted and cleaned, get the floor stripped, then they'll do small incremental upgrades. And eventually they'll hold all their meetings there. And if anybody wants to, the meeting started about 10 minutes ago in the conference room here for this month's CERT meeting, which is the Community Emergency Response team. For emergency management, we were asked to put in a pre-disaster mitigation plan. We put in a placeholder to the county, which is also going to the state, which also goes to FEMA. Because I need to expand it and put more into it. I'm going to plagiarize heavily from other cities and other counties and just follow in so they look similar, same format. The initial pre-disaster mitigation plan flyers that we sent out, I got response back from the county. They said, job well done. They really liked what we did. So we put it out in the network for the city. I took them to several stores, several businesses, and put them at Cal Ranch, at Smith and Edwards, at Kent's, a couple schools. So we're starting to let the community know we want input and we want people to help us build our mitigation plan. And the very first message I got back through the email system was, it was called ditches, but it's the canals. We need to keep the canals clear in case there's a flood or heavy materials flowing, water flowing through it. Got it. That's on the list. So it wasn't on the list before, it is now. That's what we're looking for, is people giving us feedback on things they see. So it's starting to work, which is good. We have an emergency management meeting coming up in a week, and I'll just take notes from the county and see how they apply to us, and we'll go from there. And then I got a request from Habitats for Humanity, and I passed that along, and hopefully we can interact with Habitats for Humanity. They want to help us, and they would like some labor from us to help them with one of their local projects. So once we get more information, we can put that out and ask for volunteers from the community to come assist doing something for Habitat for Humanity. And that's all I have at this time.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Okay, even though it's been a month, I'm really not gonna take as much time as I have in the past. You're welcome, Andrea. Most of the things I wanted to report on have been covered by some of the rest of us. As far as the playground equipment or the playground for Mountain View, the equipment has actually started to arrive, including a 12,000-pound Sequoia log. So
12,000 pounds have arrived. Is that what you said?
More than 12,000 pounds.
that's just one item. So we had to put it off because they wanted to deliver just in time for the Freedom Festival. I'm like, no, we kind of need that area. So that stuff has started to arrive. I've actually stored it in a couple of different places. We'll get all that stuff rolling as soon as we have clearance, basically from the grant stuff that they say it's okay to proceed, we're ready to go. We can rip and replace. Several of us attended the housing subcommittee for Weber County, the WACOG, and gave us some, and that was with League of Cities and Towns. We talked about all sorts of different financing type strategies that can be done through that. Went through some of the alphabet soup of things we can actually declare, which can become strategies. We don't need to yet, but we may want to consider them in the future. These are like the HOPS, which is a housing ownership promotion zone, if we wanted to do something like that, and also some other things like that. Some of those can use tax increment, which we heard a little bit about tonight. But that was a good meeting. I enjoyed it. Most of my time has been taken up by, of course, the development. Been talking with the developers, meeting with them, going around on site with them, back and forth with development agreements and those types of things. We've met with Pleasant View because they're heavily involved with the road part of it. So we're working on mostly the road part of it because nothing can happen without it. So that's been keeping me pretty busy. And then just for fun, I met with Amy Marriott Ross Kelly. We all know Amy basically has taken over most of the real estate activities that Randy was once doing. And that group has a lot of properties, including the Randall property, what used to be, yeah, anyway, lots of different properties within the city. And they went over, they actually have quite a few ideas about what they want to do in some of these locations. So they'll probably be bringing those to us. Some of it they'll probably want to bring to our development meetings. Some of it they'll want to bring to our housing committee, because there may be some of their proposals would take some code changes in order to do, but that's up to us to decide whether or not we want to do that. But they want to at least tell their story. Some of the stuff they want to do is make it safer over by the schools. So put a road in between the school and the church to help alleviate some of the congestion and craziness on 2700. So they are trying to work towards some of that. We got to figure out how to possibly put a bridge in. We have places that we can stub to, but crossing the bridge, we're going to have to come up with some of those types of things. But those have been some of the main meetings that I've been involved with, along with what everybody's already kind of covered. And that's pretty much all I have for this week, but I'm sure I'll have more within a couple of weeks, because WACOG will be, no, I won't have WACOG by then either. So, yeah, that's all I have. And we have one last agenda item.
So moved.
Second. Aye.
Okay, so we have Boyd and Katie, or motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, ever? Okay, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
I know we have to do.
Happy anniversary.
Monday, 30th. Oh.
Which one?
I heard.
Thank you.
I wasn't able to answer my phone early today. Yeah, there's a portion.